Hello everyone. Thank you
Hello,
for
guys.
joining BIM One Talk, presented by BIM sponsors Göktekin and Unity. My name is Ece. Today I will be your moderator with Cenk. Hi Cenk.
Hello, guys. Hi, AJ.
Thank you.
Welcome to BIM YouTube channel. This is our international broadcast. Hopefully we will have a good broadcast with you. We will waiting for your questions, comments. Please join this broadcast with us. Please continue, AJ.
Yes, actually we have some great news about BIM. Cenk, why don't you mention them?
Okay, that's good. Guys, we published our website. Let me show it to you. This is just fresh. You can just write it to bimfly.com and you will see our website. It's in Turkish now, but will be in English version in near future, maybe next week. We have mini documentaries, live broadcasts, events. You can also see our previous broadcasts, mini documentaries from our website. If you have any
quite
questions.
new, but yeah, includes all the work, all the activities we have done so far. I mean, for the last 3 years.
Yes, exactly. You can find the list here, all of the broadcast series. This one will be added to this list also. Actually, we have lots of broadcasts here. Why don't you just click the web browser and see yourself? I think we have very limited time, so why don't you invite our guest? Okay.
Of course, the topic today is simplify BIM coordination, eliminate headaches and painful workflows with BIM Track. The title gives you the main idea, actually. We are very excited about this topic. My guest is Carl Storms, Technical Solutions Lead at BIM Track. Carl, hello. Okay.
Hello, Carl.
Hello, Carl.
How are you all?
We are all fine. Thank you for accepting our invitation
you.
and here with us. This is very meaningful for us because these broadcasts are very important. We would like to introduce you in your software. So thank you again for with us.
Yes,
happy to be here.
We are also happy to have you with us. Can you tell us about yourself?
Sure. As they mentioned, my name is Carl Storms. I'm the Technical Solutions Lead at BIM Track, but I've done a little bit of everything in my 20 plus years in the AEC or architecture, engineering, construction industry. I've been a residential and commercial architecture. I've worked on the general contractor side doing BIM and VDC coordination. I've taught Revit at the local community college. I even worked for a company that made custom doors, so I'd run the CNC machine. I'd design the door in the morning and then I'd build it in the afternoon. So a lot different doing that than spending 3 months working on $1 billion hospital. So when I say I've done a little bit of everything, I do, and even now I play with my 3D printer in the background. So you name it, I like to do it.
That's great. May I ask a question also? What is the story behind the BIM Track? So could you tell a little bit about it?
Sure. So BIM Track is actually the product. The company is called BIM One. It's a BIM consultancy firm based out of Quebec here in Canada. And they started working on projects all over the world. And they found that they were having a really hard time keeping track of issues and problems with the project, and there wasn't a good solution out there. So they created one, and that's where BIM Track came from. And so it's been around for a number of years now, probably 4 or 5 years that we've been out in the market, and we're used all across the world. I think we have projects in 43 different countries. And as we were talking ahead of the show, we were just talking with a firm in Turkey just yesterday. So we really are getting out there.
That's right. You can name the firm. That's okay. We are partner with them, of course. And I think one of the great things about the BIM Track is an open BIM, actually, isn't it? Yeah. Yes. You can use many of softwares like Revit, ArchiCAD, Tekla. If I'm not wrong, you will show it your presentation, of course. But the thing that I really like about it, it's open BIM.
That's completely true. We're based off the Open BIM philosophy. So our viewer uses IFC, and all the issues are using BCF or the BIM collaboration format. And we like to say we're software agnostic. So it's not just Autodesk products, but as you say, Tekla, ArchiCAD, lots of different integrations that we'll see when we get into the demonstration. But yeah, that's exactly right, and that's a really big thing that our founder, Carl Viet, thought about, or one of our founders, and you can even see it in our logo, in the BIM Track logo. It's the same colors as the IFC from the format.
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
so you can see. So it's
Yes.
we're very much into Open BIM, and it's a very important part of our philosophy.
That was one of my questions, but you already answered it about the logo. Thank you again. That's
It was
good.
very exciting, and I would like to hear more about it. I guess you are going to have a short presentation followed with a live demo, if I'm not mistaken.
That is correct. And for those that want to learn more about the logo, we did a nice Christmas blog post. I will share the link later, but it talks about the logo and where it came from. So everything you want to know about our logo and more.
We will hear very soon. Before moving on to presentation, I would like to remind our audience that if you have any questions during the presentation, feel free to send those over the chat. Carl will answer them at Q&A part. Okay, if you want, we can move on to presentation. Floor is yours.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Let me make sure the slide deck is working. So we've already done the quick introduction to me, but this is myself, Carl Storms, and my alter ego, the BIM Sider. That's where the hat comes from. And you may have seen me. I've done presentations all around the world talking about BIM and all the great stuff with that, but that's enough about me. We talked a little bit about BIM One, the company behind BIM Track. As you can see, a full service consultants firm, and we've also were known for a bunch of Revit add-ins that we made, and then BIM Track became one of the add-ins, and then it grew so much that it became its own product. We talked about the 43 different countries that we work in. These are where we have active projects, but we have users all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
And really, just to get into the meat of it, the real reason why BIM Track came about is because people use a workflow similar to what you see on the screen. Everyone does it a little bit differently, but the idea is that we don't know where our files are coming from. We're dealing with emails and Excel spreadsheets, and people are giving us calls or sticky notes, and it's really hard to keep track of all the things we're trying to coordinate during a project. And the problem is that this means that we spend extra time trying to find things, and we also lose things along the way. So of course there has to be a better way, and that's where BIM Track comes into play. The idea behind BIM Track is we don't want to change your coordination workflow. We don't want to change the way you do design, but what we want to do is we want to give you that central place, as we mentioned, built off of Open BIM, to allow you to use your workflow, but at the same time track issues, track accountability, and to be able to share that information across your entire project team using the platform that you work with. And as we'll see, if you're not using a BIM software like Navisworks or Solibri or Revit or ArchiCAD, we do have a full functioning viewer that uses the IFC format that allows you to take part in the coordination or design process via the web, whichever browser that you're using, as long as you have an internet connection. So that's really all there is to talk about as far as the PowerPoint slides. I'd like to keep that part short and then save more time for hopping into the actual demo. So let me just close out of my screen here. And if I open up, all right. So what we should see on the screen now is the Web Track Hub. Sorry, the BIM Track Hub. And inside the BIM Track Hub, once you have part of a BIM Track Hub, you have unlimited projects. So I currently have 14 projects that I can see, but there could be 100 projects in the hub. So I go ahead and hop into my demo project, and the first thing that we're going to see is our dashboard. And here we can see all the recent activities. All of these blue links are clickable. So if you see something here you want to address, you can just click on it. We have what we call our mountain range view, and this means that we can see all of the information, how many people have been in the project on any given day, and then how many issues we have to deal with. But the real magic starts when we get into the issues page. So when I open up the issues page, you can see all of the active issues that are in the project. We're over 550 issues in the project, but a lot of them have already been closed and archived. So we're down to just 82 that are still active in the project. And I can just scroll through and find the issues that I want. We can also use that search box to go directly to the issue we're looking for. And whether we type in the issue number or the name or a combination, we can be taken directly to that issue here inside of BIM Track. And so once we see the issue pop up on the screen, we see the information that's part of it. So we see the image. We also see the XYZ coordinates, so where it was created. The coordinate system for your models is very important. So you want to make sure that everyone's using that same coordinate system. So whether it's pulling shared coordinates from Revit or whether it's part of your coordination process to say everyone should be in the same coordinate system, that's very important. And if you are in the same coordinate system, we're going to see that BIM Track is going to work as expected. So we have all of the information that we've created when we started the issue. And then over on this side, we have all of the ongoing communication, all of the back and forth, the questions, the comments, the talk that's happened throughout the life of the project. At any time, we can use the @ symbol to bring in an individual person or an entire team into the conversation to make sure we have the right expertise. Along with unlimited projects, we also get unlimited storage. So that means with the attachments, I can bring on any file format that I want and share it here inside of my issue. And that gives us access for anyone on this project that has access to this issue.
No, that's great, actually. So it's working very open. But I have a question: how many people can join this web cloud-based system? So is there any limitation about it? Are there any limitation about it?
Yes, and that's a good question. So the way that the licensing works for BIM Track is it's a named user account. So essentially what that means is that everyone that's part of the project is going to have a license. So whether you have 10 people, 25 people, 100 people, and the person that creates that hub, they're the ones that are in control of the licenses. So that means if you have, say, 10 licenses, and during the first phase of the project, you invite 10 people, and after a while, we no longer need the plumber. You can take his name out of the project and you can put in the, the mechanical guy's name. So you have control over who has access. That's right, to move back and forth. So you can see how that works.
So is it good to work with the same team for many projects, I guess?
It really depends. I mean, for me personally, the more times you work with the same team, the better the outcome is. But we know in reality that's not always the case. And that's why you can switch around. That's right. And so that's why you can have as many projects as you want.
Actually, I have a question about OpenBIM. Maria Lopez, MVRDV Associate and BIM Specialist, was our guest. She mentioned they do not prefer OpenBIM in MVRDV, at least in the office. Like, it's not their first choice. What do you think about it? Is it necessary, or should we stick with the same software as much as possible?
That's a great question. And there's a lot of people that like the idea of OpenBIM, but when it comes down to the functionality, they're maybe not as happy with it. And that just comes down to everyone has their favorite software. So whether you're using Revit or ArchiCAD or whatever product you're using, the outcome of that product is always going to be better if you keep using that product. But in reality, we're not always going to be using the same software. We're not always going to use the same people on our team. So having a platform like IFC that allows you to share the majority of the information with anyone is really the way that we're going to go. And you can see that even the big players like Graphisoft and Autodesk are having big strides to make sure that their platforms work better with OpenBIM platforms like IFC and BCF every year. So they keep getting better and better. So we have that ability. So I think we need to embrace OpenBIM, but I certainly understand that sometimes it's not the most friendly platform to use.
Thank you.
Any other questions about that before I carry on?
No, I think we can.
All right.
We have some questions from our guests, but we will ask them at the end of your presentation.
Sure. So we saw the file formats that come in that work with our issues. Anyone that has access to the issue can download and access these files. We have a complete non-delete history, and what that means is that everything that happens over the life of that issue, we can see. We talked about some of the integrations, the products that we work with. So you can see we have our add-ins with the Autodesk products, Tekla, Graphisoft. We have our integrations with things like Procore, Enscape, VREX if you're doing virtual reality, Celibri, BricsCAD. So we're always bringing more and more integrations and add-ins into our workflow. And then our simple, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. I see AutoCAD there. When you say AutoCAD, does it need to be a 3D model, or can we use 2D drawings? Like most of the time, the engineering or consultant teams submit their work in 2D. Can we somehow overlay our model with their drawing since it's coordinated?
Yes, that's a great question. So BIM Track is designed to be a 3D platform. So as you can see, all of the AutoCAD platforms that are named here are the 3D versions. With that being said, since 2018, and I can never remember if it's the 28 model year or 2018 calendar year, but when Autodesk said, hey, you now buy AutoCAD 1. So that means when you buy AutoCAD, you get all versions of AutoCAD. So that means that the BIM Track add-in works with even straight 2D AutoCAD. It still works better in a 3D environment, but we can work with 2D files like PDFs. And we'll see that when we get into the viewer. So a lot of times the workflow is that people will have a sheet that's brought into BIM Track as a PDF, as well as a 3D model. And we have this really cool function called hypermodeling, where we can see the 2D and the 3D at the same time in the same place. And it really allows people that don't work in BIM all the time to understand the questions and the issues that you're having.
May I ask a question? And I just saw then another product, Enscape. How does it work with Enscape? We will just view the clashes or just like that?
So the way that we work with Enscape is obviously a real-time rendering tool that you tie into many different platforms. So we have, and my internet's going really slow today. So we have the idea of working with Enscape. So say, for example, you're in Revit, you can use Enscape to give you a nice rendered view, and then you can see the issues and create issues in that environment. The other nice thing about Enscape is it gives us access to issues outside of tools that we normally have. And what I mean by that is we don't have an add-in or an integration with Rhino, and we don't have an add-in or an integration with SketchUp, but Enscape does. So if you have a license of Enscape and a license of BIM Track, you can create issues inside of SketchUp because of Enscape. You can create issues inside of Rhino because of SketchUp.
I get it now. Okay, that's great.
So that's kind of how that functionality works and what it gives you. So Enscape is one of those ones that's a really cool platform because everyone uses Enscape now, it seems like, but it also gives us access to things outside of our typical workflow. And that's the beauty of not only open BIM, but of interoperability. So you'll see a lot of firms are now saying, okay, we don't want to try to be the only one that does something. We want to connect with many different platforms so that different people on different projects can take advantage of not only our platform, but someone else's. And Enscape's a great example of that.
Yeah, exactly.
So if we jump back into our issues, and if we're looking at something other than just one issue, but we want to see groups of issues, we can use our filtering functionality. And so when we click on the filters, we can see we have all of these little bits and pieces that come. We can decide what goes into our filter and save that as a project template to use again later. We can also save the way we want to see things. So if I don't want to see all 82 issues, I only want to see architectural issues, I can filter things and then save that for later. And if it's saved as shared, that means anyone on the team can access that. And so if I select architectural top issues, you can see how I'm filtering it. And when I close out of the filter, you can see that, oops, I need to hit apply. You can see that we now go from 82 down to 7. And these are just my architectural issues.
Architecture.
So that's right. And any way that I can access this, so whether it's in Revit or Navisworks, I can see just these, so I don't have to sort through all of my issues on my platform of choice. I can get directly to the issues that I need. And the one other thing that I want to mention before I move into the add-ins was, along with all of the integrations and add-ins and workflows, we also sit on top of a completely open API. And so essentially what that means is that if you didn't see an integration or a workflow that works for you, you can come in here, either yourself or someone that works with APIs and coding in your firm, and they can use all of this to extract data from BIM Track and put it into their application, put it into their workflow, very much like our Power BI integration. So not only are we big fans of Open BIM, we're also big fans of Open API,
Yeah,
so that you can add in.
great. That's great, really.
So if we carry on and we look at what it looks like inside of our add-in, so this is our add-in over here. And as we mentioned, we had 8 products where we had an actual add-in. It's going to look the same. So if you've seen it here in Navisworks, you've seen it in Revit, you've seen it in Civil 3D, and that's one of the things we try to keep, is to make everything very simple and user-friendly. So you don't have to learn a different add-in if you use AutoCAD and a different add-in if you use Tekla. It's all the same. And you just make sure you're in the right hub, and then the proper project, and then you see all of the issues available to you. And as we saw before, if I click on that same filter that we saw in the Web Hub and hit apply, you can see that we now go back down to those same 7 issues. Our viewpoints, or balloons as I like to call them, match. And whether I click on the balloon or view and model, either takes us directly to that issue here inside of the model. So it allows us to go directly there inside of our platform of choice. Now,
this is actually very great. I mean, what I like about BIM Track is being able to see problems or the issues without changing your platforms, because many people does not feel comfortable when the interface changes. You can use it in Navisworks or Revit in the same software that you are using all the time.
Absolutely, and that's a very big part of what we do. It's a little bit different than some other platforms that do similar things, is we give you the ability to use it exactly like you said, where you feel comfortable, where you want to use it. And different platforms allow you to do different things. So, when we're looking at something here inside of Navisworks, and I'm just going to turn off my balloons now, we want to typically create issues. We're not going to solve that header issue here inside of Navisworks. It's a viewing tool. It's a clash tool. It's not an authoring tool. So we are
going to create more problems.
That's right. So what we want to do is we want to create an issue. And so I'm going to show you how to create an issue with BIM Track. Now I'm doing it in Navisworks, but if I was in Revit or if I was in Tekla or even in the Web Hub, it's the same. Again, that's part of the simplicity of our program, is we want to make sure wherever you do it, it's the same process. So we could click create an issue. It's going to take a screenshot, and we get a dialog box, and we put in information. Very simple.
Yeah.
Now,
that's simple, really.
Sometimes we need to get a little more specific. So imagine a mechanical room. There's equipment, there's ducts, there's valves, there's all sorts of things in that mechanical room, and we need to get very specific where the issue is. So with that, we can use localized. And you can see there's a tiny little black dot on my cursor. So if I pick, for example, the top of the A, imagine that's the valve in the mechanical room, it now shows me exactly where that coordinate is, that X, Y, Z. So when I go to that issue, it takes me directly to where that black dot is. So I can get very specific with where I need that issue to be in my 3D environment. The rest of this is the same. So I go ahead and I add in a name, I give in some information. We can do a markup on top of that image. And when we do the markup, it's going to open whatever your default image editing software. So for me, that's Microsoft Paint. So it's not great, but it gets the job done. So you can see I can add this and put it in place. And the idea is that it's not just a markup tool. So the markup is just there to add context. The real power is what we can do here. So I can assign this to somebody. So Bob is responsible for this issue. Priorities, what sort of zone it is, a discipline. The more information you add, the more ways you can sort the information later. Due date, notification. So think of this like a CC on an email. So it's assigned to Bob, but the architecture team is very interested to know the outcome. So they want to stay involved. And then we have all these other different categories, type, status, phase, confidentiality. Confidentiality is how you decide who's going to be involved in the issue. So it's assigned to Bob, but this issue, affects the architectural and construction team. So think of it as the teams involved. And then we have what we call custom attributes or custom categories. And what this means is that out of the box, I can put whatever information I want into zone. But maybe the information that I want to track doesn't make sense being underneath a zone. So I've created a category from scratch called install, and I've input information that I can choose from. You can also create categories like my cost code, where I can type in whatever information I want. And you can create up to 6 of these custom attributes or categories, so that when you're tracking the information you want in your project, it's information that's right for you. And then you simply hit publish. We create the issue, it sends it up to the cloud, and now everyone has access to that issue when we put it into the space. We also have the ability when we're working through here to create issues using our classes. Question?
So they if they would like to switch any other software, just like Revit or any other, they will see those issues in their own softwares.
Correct. Correct. And if I just change out of here to something less restrictive, you'll see that that issue appears right at the top of the screen, right here where we just made it. So it's sort of just that quick. As soon as it goes up to the web, everyone now has access to it.
That's very great.
Now, of course,
very simple, very easy to use.
And that's
like instant messaging.
Yes, and that's the very, very important part. And I've never heard it called like instant messaging, but I like that. And of course, when people are using Navisworks, everyone knows about clash detection. That's why people use Navisworks. And so we help with that too. We don't do the clash detection. Navisworks does that. But what we help with is after you've done the clash detection, we help to assign the issues. So if I run this test, go ahead.
I mean, I said instant messaging because, as you know, we mostly use emails, but since it's getting harder for us now, we start to use WhatsApp. Okay, it's not very good, but I mean, we want to tell instantly.
Exactly.
There's a need for it.
And that's why it's a great way to describe it, because it is instant, just like that. But it also keeps track of everything. So it tells you the information right away, but you also have a list of it, so that if you forgot it, you know that you have to do it. So I think it's a really good way to describe it. And now that we've gone through and ran our clash, you can see that we have 139 new clashes. Now, for anyone here that's worked with Navisworks watching or at home, they know that sometimes you get clashes that aren't really clashes. And the best example is, we have a duct running through 20 joists, and Navisworks says that's 20 clashes. But we know if we take that duct and we just drop it a few inches, all of the clashes go away. So people will group their clashes, and they can do it manually. They can use software like Sherlock or iConstruct. But if you don't have any of those, we include a clash grouping tool with us inside of here. And this is actually the tool that was created by Simon from BIM 42. If you're familiar with that blog and his products, he's the mastermind behind this. And so if I select that same clash test, I can then choose how I want to filter. I like to use levels and grid intersection. I hit group on that, and now you can see that we're down to 36. And they're automatically named by the level and the grid intersection. So it sort of helps to do that. So instead of giving 139 issues, I'm now just giving 36.
That's great. It's organizing the Navisworks also. So it's very, very important for us, because as you said, we have lots of clashes. Somehow you don't have enough time to fix those clashes, but now it reduced those clashes and track them. That's really great.
Yes, and that's part of it. By grouping them together, like you say, when you have time to go back, you can address all of those. And what we do at this stage, now that we've grouped them, is we can go ahead and select that same group. We can choose the information from Navisworks we want to put into our descriptions. So anything we put a blue check mark comes from Navisworks. It goes into the description inside of BIM Track. And then we hit publish, and we create those 36 issues. And now I've already done this, so we'll just take a quick look. And we'll see what one of these groups of clashes looks like. So you can see this one has 1 in 10, so it has 10 clashes. And there's an image for each clash, again, based out of how your Navisworks is set up. Everyone likes it to look a little bit different, but one for each clash. And then if I go into the view to edit, you can see here's that information from Navisworks inside each clash. So it really gives you that functionality. Did anyone have any questions about the Navisworks side before I hop into Revit?
Actually, no. We have still enough time. Please go ahead.
All right. So when we hop into Revit, and I'm using Revit here, but again, it could be Tekla, it could be Civil 3D, you know, any of those products, the same idea. You can see we have, again, those same information.
All the issues.
Yes. And now I'm logged in as our engineer, Erica. One of the things that she does is she likes to have it set up. So she has her own filter. So if I go into quick filters, you can see underneath personal, she has her very own filter. And what this does is she comes in the morning, she grabs her coffee, she opens up Revit. And so now these are the issues that are assigned to her in order of criticality. So that most critical issues up top. And this is, of course, that pesky wrong header issue that we saw before. And so when I click on that, it's going to open up the issue. We saw this in the web. We saw this in Navisworks. Now we're going to open that same issue here inside of Revit. The difference is that Revit is an authoring tool, again, like ArchiCAD or Tekla. So that means that when the issue brings itself to us, we can now address it. We can make changes to it. And this issue, we have a pretty good idea what's wrong. But not all issues are going to be easy to see just from looking at it. So if you go into View to Edit, everything that we saw on the BIM Track web is available here inside of Revit. We didn't have to leave to go anywhere else. We didn't have to load a different software. Everything is here for us. And now we can say, okay, I understand what the problem is. I can fix that. And then we do just that. So I can select on the beam here, and it tells me that it's a 12 by 16. So if I come in here, I can make that change. And so I'm fixing the issue. It's a simple issue, but again, this is one less thing that I need to do. So now that I've actually fixed the issue, we can document this.
Clause.
That's right. We can document it for the rest of the team. So what I do is I come back over here and I can add information into the issue for the rest of the team. I can take a screenshot. So when I tell them what I did, I can also show them what I did. So I took this picture, I fixed with a W12 by 16 header, and I post that for the team. So now they all know what I did. They have a picture of it. And then as you said, most importantly, we want to change that status to ready to review fixed. Now we do recommend that you keep the close status to the project coordinator, the lead, because we don't want people closing their own issues, but also it means we have a chance for someone to take a look at the issue and make sure that it's the right solution for this project. The other cool thing about Erica's to-do list is now that she's fixed the issue and she publishes that, it disappears from her list. So now she can just do the rest of the issues. She can add issues. She can create issues like we saw in Navisworks. She can communicate with the team like our instant messenger analogy. All of that's available to her here without having to go anywhere. So that's one of the real powerful things about our add-ins is you use it where you need to use it.
That's good. And she can enjoy her coffee too.
That's probably the most important. That's right.
Exactly.
But of course, we know that not everyone is going to be using Revit or Navisworks or what have you. So you may have the owner, you may have the SAIT super, and so they can do all of this on our web browser. And the easiest way to get the information into the web browser is by publishing it from Revit. And so here, we can publish our model or models as IFCs, again, open BIM platform. And then we can publish our sheets from Revit as PDFs. So I select them all. And while we can do this once, we can also automate the process. So if I schedule this, that means that I'm going to call it my structural steel. I'm going to publish it weekly on Sunday at 11 o'clock at night. I hit save. And so now every Sunday at 11 p.m., it's going to publish that model in those sheets. The only thing you have to remember is the computer has to have power at 11 o'clock Sunday night. It'll open Revit and do everything else, but there needs to be power. So maybe Wednesday at noon's a better time. Unless you like working at night, then hey, there you go.
This is a great feature. I mean,
Yeah,
exactly.
we will be sharing model once a week. Then sometimes this period goes up to a month because we are always busy.
Yeah.
Great.
Now, the thing to keep in mind is that this is just sharing the IFC. The Revit file, you guys are still going to coordinate the same way you do. So you still have to upload the Revit file to BIM 360 Design or wherever you're storing it for the authoring tool. But this allows everyone to see the contents in our viewer. And so if we come back into the Web Hub and we go into our viewer, this is where we can see the, in this project, there is 8 IFCs that make up the project. And so you can see all of the IFC files. You can see our structural one has 17 updates or revisions. You can see that we have access to all those revisions. Again, unlimited storage, so we can access all of these. The most recent's always on top. And if you're working with another consultant that's not using Revit, let's say Tekla, for example, they can just come here, click Add on IFC, and they can drag and drop in their IFCs from wherever they want. So now everyone on the project can view these IFCs. And to view them, it's just as simple as hitting the little slide, and it's going to open up the model for us to see. And again, no software needed for this. You just need access to the internet. And you can see we can move around, we can zoom in, we can pan, all the things that you can do on sort of regular browsers. We can clip, measure, all that stuff. We also have the ability to add what I call profiles. And what that means is you can see that my slabs, my IFC slabs came in transparent, and my beams came in purple. I didn't change that in Revit. That's a rule I have here for easy review. So if you want to set things up kind of like your profiles in Navisworks, every time I bring something in, it's easier for me to review. Same thing with my sheets. So these are PDFs that came into the project. They don't have to be from Revit. This is a rooftop unit from Train. There's 228 pages. But we do have those sheets that came from Revit. And this is that cool feature I was talking about before, that if I turn on the sheet from Revit and the model from Revit at the same time, we go into what we call hypermodeling. And hypermodeling means that we can see the 2D and 3D content in the same place at the same time. So as I zoom in, you know, there's my grids, there's my beam tags, my notes, all of the information. And I can also
give us a good presentation about it. Very nice.
And you know, so now we can move this back and forth. I can do whatever I want. And so those people that aren't using Revit, they can do this anywhere they have access. And if they clip on our issues, they can now see issues, review issues, create issues. So everything that we did in Navisworks and we did in Revit, anyone that has access to BIM Track and any viewer can now do this as well. And we see it here in this, you know, 2.5D environment. I say 2.5 because it's 2 in 3D, but we could also turn off the model and go back into our sheets, and you can see we can create and review issues strictly in 2D. So all of that's available in 2D and 3D, whatever we need to do. So we sort of work with the workflow that works best with you. And that kind of goes back to the question of, you know, can we work with 2D? You know, we're designed to work best with 3D, but we certainly do have 2D workflows. And the last little bit before we open it up for questions is, of course, all of the metrics, all of the intelligence that comes from all those issues that we create. And you can see I click on the metrics and we have access to all of this information. And we can filter by any category, including any of those custom categories that we created specifically for our project. So if I go to disciplines, you can see all the disciplines here. And it's still early for me here in Canada, so I'm going to go ahead and open up a donut instead of a pie. And we go to our architectural issues. Now we can see what's the priority of these issues we've picked. There's a lot of high issues, so I want to investigate those. And now we see that all of the high issues, or a lot of them, are assigned to Alice, and she's on vacation this week. So I can now assign some of them to Bob, or maybe Erica, or maybe both. Working. Well, exactly. And the idea is that, well, I can action this. It really only took 3 clicks. So I found exactly what I needed to do in 3 clicks. So all of the information in the project, but I got really to where I need to do. And it's okay. Sometimes people can take vacation, so we'll let them have their vacation. Bob and Erica will take care of it. But once we get past the idea of being able to do this at a individual level, we also mentioned that we had the ability to tie into Power BI. And with our Power BI integrations, we take that from just looking at a single project to looking at all the issues inside of all of our different projects. So whether it's a simple Power BI template or dashboard like we have here that anyone can create and tap into Power BI, or whether you go for the full-fledged turnkey solution where we have all of the integrations, everything put in our place, you can sort of see some of the power of not only our integrations with Power BI, where we can see all of the projects and all of our metrics in one spot, but this also shows you the power of that open API and the fact that we can tie into other platforms and make something like this dashboard that works for your specific environment. And the last thing is our reports. And so metrics are great. Power BI dashboards are great. But when we're actually having our coordination meetings with everyone on site or in the boardroom, we need to have a way to talk about all the issues. And so we've seen our quick filters. We also can choose which issue types and what metrics we want to include on these reports, and then save that as a template. So let's say our open issues. So when I click on open issues, we can now see the type of information that we're filtering by. We can see the issues that we want as well as the metrics. And then we simply print, or just like our IFCs, we can now automate this process with a schedule. So I call it report, weekly, Thursday at 12:42 a.m. I'm going to run this report with the latest information, and then I'm going to send it to my architectural and construction team, schedule. So just like our IFCs, this is now scheduled every Thursday. It happens automatically. I don't have to do anything. And what it looks like is when I hit on print, you'll see the website that we have here. Oh, let me just refresh that so we get the graphics. So we get the website. If you prefer, you can also save it as a PDF. But you can see that all this information is clickable. So I can find out any of the data. I can drill down into any of the analytics. And then we get down to the actual issues. We see the image, the information we added, and then this is the comments. This is all of the back and forth that's happened over the life of that issue for us to see. And if we decide during our meeting that this issue needs to be addressed, we can simply just click on the title. And this works whether we do it from the website or from that PDF we created. And now we're right back into BIM Track at this issue, and we can ask the question, hey, Bob, where's our dryer? Where's our rooftop unit? It's on back order. There's a ship stuck in the canal, so we can't get our orders through. And then we go ahead and post this, and we now have access. Everyone can see it. And we've addressed that issue. So we didn't have to send around a thumb drive with the models on it. Everyone had access in the viewer. We didn't have to spend the first hour to coordinate the meeting because everyone got the report the day before. And you can have as many ports and templates as you want. So we're able to all sit in one room and look at this on a screen, or as we are here all over the world, watching it on YouTube, and we can all be part of this conversation. And we're getting our information done quicker, and then we get back to the field that we need to do. So I know that's a lot of information kind of coming at you really quickly about what BIM Track can do and how it sort of helps. But the real takeaways is that we're trying not to change your workflow. We're trying to have a simple product that allows you to do what you do the way you want. We're not replacing the cake. We're adding a little extra icing to the cake. That's how we like to look at it.
That was a very good presentation. I really like it. I would like to say something about it. When you finish this presentation, I was working in Naviswork with lots of clashes, but I didn't see it. I have a problem with that, because when I see the BIM Track, I know I have a very serious problem with Naviswork. It's because it's not a friendly, user-friendly system. I have lots of difficulties about tracking, about showing the clashes, lots of softwares. But now I get it. I have a problem, and this problem will be fixed by BIM Track. So I really like the software about the presentation. Thank you again, Carl.
You're welcome, and I'd like to hear that we helped to solve your problem.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you very much. Before moving to Q&A, I just want to ask you one question. Actually, I was checking your website, the BIM Track. I saw a case study part on the website. Can you tell us about it?
Sure. And so the case study part, there's lots of different case studies from different things. We have several that are on there. Some of the most recent ones talk about the benefits that people get from working with not Power BI, with BIM Track. Some of them use Power BI. I was thinking of our DPR webinar that we just did, where they talk about integrating with things like Smartsheet to be able to track their schedules. But we also have people that use BIM Track and how it saves time during their coordination process. And one of the ones they said is that even if you're tracking something through Navisworks, for example, and the process of being able to assign that issue, know where it is, find it, and correct it, saves you, a minute a time. If you're dealing with 1,000 issues in a project, that's a couple days worth of time that you save from something very simple. So yeah, by all means, please go check out bimtrack.co. The case studies, the help section, lots of information there for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. I will definitely check.
We have some questions from our audience, and we have 5 minutes more. Okay. The first question comes from Aslıhan. What do you think about the future of OpenBIM? Will it no longer matter which software we use in the future?
That's a great question. I wish that the future of OpenBIM would mean that it no longer matters which software we're going to use. I think it's still going to matter for a while, but I do believe that in the future that's what we're looking for. I know there was some presentations about sort of the idea of not just OpenBIM but collaboration as a rule in the future, that we won't be sharing files like IFCs, but we'll just be sharing the data, the ones and zeros. And when we share the data with, from Revit to Navisworks or from Revit to Tekla, we don't need a model. It just knows that the engineer moved the beam 3 inches to the left. And so in my software, it moves the beam 3 inches to the left. I don't think we're as close to that as we all would want. I mean, we've been doing BIM for 20 years now, and we were hoping to be building from the model, and we're still building from plans. But in the future, hopefully, that means it doesn't matter which software, but we're still a ways from that.
Not in the close future.
Okay, another one from Damla. We asked this question to Carl before the broadcast, but let's ask him again. Is it used for any project in Turkey?
That's a good question. I know we have a couple of customers that are using it in Turkey. I don't know their names right off the top of my head. And as we were mentioning at the beginning, we just had a meeting with, I can't remember the name now, Celine Engineering?
Saina, if I'm
Saina Engineering, Saina. Thank you. We just had a meeting with them yesterday. So we are, seeing people that have interest all over the world. We certainly have a lot of interest in Europe in general, but we do have a few projects I know in Turkey.
Hopefully there will be more after the broadcast.
Hey, that would be great.
Okay, hopefully. And another question from Nihle. Are there any features you plan to add in the future?
That's a great question. And we're always adding new features. And if you go to, we have an ideas portal called, thank you, ideas.bimtrack.co. And what this allows you to do is it allows people to go in and sort of, vote for the most popular idea. And one of the ones that people have been asking for is to be able to publish from Navisworks. So we showed the example of being able to publish from Revit into BIM Track. We're actually in the final stages of private beta, and we hope to open up to public beta very soon. So that's one of the ones. The ability for a mobile app. We do have the plan for an iOS or Apple app sometime in this year. And we're hoping to update some of the things that we do with the viewer as well. But typically we have updates that come out every 3 to 4 weeks. Some of them are small bug fixes. Some of them are big changes. But yes, those are some of the big ones that are coming through to watch for. And of course, always new integrations.
This is a great way to decide. I mean, this is so democratic.
Yes. No, it's not always. Sometimes people vote for things that aren't easy for the developers to do. So it's not always the one that gets the most votes. But if a lot of people want it, we understand that it's popular, and then we'll certainly investigate.
Excellent.
Okay, we have 2 questions. Is BIM Track license based on a project or number of user bases?
So the general licensing is number of users. We did just release, speaking of new features, we did just release a project-based model last fall. So, well, most people find it beneficial to have unlimited projects, but X number of users, 10, 25, 100. Sometimes on very large projects, it makes more sense to have just one project, but as many users as you want. So we do have both options available. Number of users is most popular, but we do have a project-based license as well.
Okay, thank you. And the last question, do you provide educational license?
So this is a great question because we do. And we have a lot of firms that want to sort of come through and ask about this. And we're very big proponents of not only of Open BIM, but also training and education. The more people that understand all of the products that can make BIM more successful, I think is better for everybody in the industry. It helps BIM in general. So we have a team that does nothing but work with the education industry and help them out. And in fact, just recently, yesterday or the day before, I lose track of time these days, one of our local colleges here in Calgary that takes advantage of our licensing program, one of their students made a video about how he learned to use the product and how clash detection in general about that. So we're seeing a great uptake in it helping people out. So, and I can share that link with you guys later if you wish. But yes, short answer that I've made long, we do have educational licenses, and you can reach out to bimtrack.co and they can help you.
That's great. That's great. And these are all questions we have. Thank you for these questions. We actually we have finished our time, 15 minutes. Okay. Thank you, Carl. Again, thank you for your presentation. We really liked the BIM Track. Yes, and the demo, of course. Do you have anything you would like to add before we finish the broadcast?
I just want to say thank you to you both for inviting me on. It was a lot of fun. Hopefully everyone learned a little bit, and if any questions come in later, they can certainly contact me, and I'm happy to help out.
Exactly.
It would be great. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. We will end the broadcast, but Carl, please don't leave. We would like to talk for 5 minutes. We will end the broadcast, but please don't leave. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Bye bye. See you.
Bye bye.